unbelievable respect for both men. I could not be prouder of Conor Benn for what he's been through and the heart that he showed in the ring tonight. You know, Nigel Benn was the people's champion. Tonight, Conor Benn become the people's champion.
The clash between Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. just went down, sparking a firestorm of reactions from fighters, trainers, and pundits across the boxing world.
And I give credit to Conor Benn because let me tell you what, I was always right. What did I say to you? He's an extraordinary fighter, but the promoters are bringing him up, which is spoiling his weight at 147. What did I say? I've been saying it for what, 2 years? That man can go across to the United States and actually tear it up. And you saw that. You saw that. Junior is too big a man. These weights.
Before the opening bell, the boxing community was buzzing with predictions and perspectives. Teddy Atlas offered a particularly nuanced take, describing Chris Eubank Jr. as a fighter who thrived under pressure.
Good fight, good fight. You don't want nothing more. As a boxing fan, that was fantastic. Enjoyed every second of it. Good fight, happy.
What did you think of Eubank's performance? Do you think he won the fight?
Yeah, I think he won the fight. It's a good fight though. Really close, really close. Everything was... I think it's a good fight.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think Eubank should do, or do you think they should run it back, Fraser?
Someone whose mental toughness sharpened when the stakes were highest. Atlas noted that if Eubank could draw Benn into emotional exchanges, he had the ability to capitalize on mistakes and swing the fight in his favor.
Look, I have to be honest, I was shocked. I was shocked at what an unbelievable fight it was. I was shocked at how good Conor Benn was. I'm okay to say that. I think Eubank Jr. got the shock of his life in those early rounds. And then he just came on strong, dug deep and showed his class, and those last 2 rounds were phenomenal. But unbelievable fight, and an unbelievable night, and great for Senior to be here as well.
How did you score it, Ben?
Probably 3 or 4 rounds in Junior's favour, but as I say, I think those last 2 rounds were really what...
Still, despite respecting Eubank's composure and resilience, Atlas ultimately picked Benn to win, believing that Benn's raw hunger, willingness to take risks, and relentless aggression would break through and carry him to victory.
I thought they both put their hearts on the line.
Yeah.
I thought they both gave everything they had. And if they could have gave more to the crowd, they would have gave more.
Yeah.
The only, I think the biggest winner was Great Britain. It's just my opinion. You got 2 native people put on a massive performance just for the hometown.
Frank Warren took a broader view of the Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. showdown, choosing to zoom out and focus on the bigger picture rather than just the immediate result. For Warren, the significance of this fight extended far beyond the 12 scheduled rounds inside the ring. It wasn't merely about who would get their hand raised at the final bell.
Yeah. His left hand was key. He kept popping his jab.
Yeah.
You know, and my teacher taught me very well, the late great Emmanuel Stewart, how to use the left hand. Left hand is the key piece. He taught Linux. I'm sure
it was about something deeper, something that tapped into the rich, emotional roots of boxing history. It was about redemption, legacy, and the kind of drama that only this sport can produce. Warren spoke passionately about the deeper layers that made this bout so much more than a typical matchup.
Incredible fight, the fight really ignited, and they both played their part in that. They both battled hard. Neither gave up, neither wanted to give in. The will they both showed was incredible, and Junior at 36 years old, he had to show his resolve there. He had to dig deep into the well.
In his eyes, it was pure boxing theater, an unfolding story that had been decades in the making. This wasn't just 2 fighters clashing. It was a continuation of a legendary rivalry that began with their fathers, Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank Sr.
That at 36 years old is impressive.
A lot better, bro. A lot better. What a fight it was. Just massive props to Conor Benn, bro. He's a welterweight at the end of the day. He come up, great fight. I had it a draw personally. Yeah, I had it a draw. Very close fight. Done their father.
That history brought an emotional weight to the event that few modern fights can replicate.
People can't wait to see that, and
You know, they're all excited about that, and rightfully so. You know, it's got the promotional chops to it. You know, it's got the behind the scenes stuff to it. You know, with animosity and bad blood, whatever, all that stuff, and it's
Every jab, every combination, every moment. Inside the ropes was charged with echoes from the past.
It's got the history with the fathers. You know, Eubanks, you know, wants to probably keep it on the outside as much as he can and use his skill sets to, you know, use his hand speed and his ability to throw counter punches and, you know, punches from different angles.
A living homage to the battles that had captured the public's imagination years ago. He pointed out that this was more than personal for both men. It was historical. Both Benn and Eubank Jr. were fighting not just for themselves.
Watch it. I watch all boxing on there. You know, it is what it is. I'm not going to change my views on the fight at all. I've said enough about the fight, what I think about it. I'm not a big fan of Chris Eubank Jr. He's 36 years old, 36 years of age, and I look at what Hamza's doing. I look what Denzel Bentley have done. You know, gone and fought for proper world titles, real world titles, and done them at a young age.
You feel like Chris has wasted perhaps prime years of his career?
I don't think about him at all, to be quite honest. It doesn't concern me. All I'm interested in doing, excuse me, is making fights for my fighters. And as I say, you know, him and Conor anytime can fight my two guys. I think the weight thing at the time was a very relevant point.
But for the legacies of their families. The cancelled fight from the past, when an earlier Benn versus Eubank Jr. bout was scrapped under controversial circumstances.
Invested so heavily in that camp, and actually, like, you should never be afraid to make that kind of investment financially. I mean, especially if you're making a great payday. But not many people go to that level to make sure that it's perfect in every way. Food, sleep, strength, recovery, massage, like sparring, gym facilities, everything. And as an athlete, or in anything you do, if you've prepared like that, you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm ready. I couldn't have done anything more. Now I've got to go out there and enjoy myself and deliver. And I believe he will next week. I think the one thing that Chris Eubank has that Conor doesn't in this fight is size and probably strength. What he doesn't have, in my opinion, is the boxing ability, the speed, the movement of Conor Benn. Don't get me wrong, if this fight was at the same weight class, Conor Benn's a big favourite. But Conor Benn's coming up 2 weight classes, and that's what makes this fight a 50-50.
Only added another layer of unfinished business to the narrative. Warren emphasized that for many fans, especially those who had followed their father's careers, this fight was a long-awaited resolution. It was an emotional bridge between 2 generations, giving both the older